Okay, folks, happy Friday. And we got a couple different things to do. But before we do any of the other things, we're going to have some coffee. But before we do any new things, we need to finish painting Kowalski here, who's my rifle grenade guy. And he's going to have to dry because it's going to be basically the coat of paint, the chocolate brown that we do put on. It's going to take a little bit of time for that to dry, so we can look at some other things while that's drying before we can dry brush the rest of the colors and so forth. So we're going to look in through here while that's drying. And these are all Americans, so if you want to see stuff that isn't Americans, well, I'm sorry. That's what we're going to do. We need more Americans to paint. And this thing, you know, it is about dead. I'm going to call it dead. Bye-bye. Now, I have another chocolate brown around here, and I think I even have a spare one from that one. Chocolate brown, here it is. There we go. Where's my pipette? Been coming home and doing small little tasks at lunchtime. Like I ended up gooping this guy's stand at lunchtime. There's a lot of these things just, they take some drying time in between them. What do we got down here on the ground? Yeah, that's good. That's good for the basing color. So we should be on tomorrow morning as well, so I can't stay up super late, or that we have a problem getting up in the morning. But last Saturday, I think it was Saturday, maybe it was Sunday. One of the days, it was actually Saturday. I was up at like 3 in the morning and couldn't sleep. I'd gone to bed like at 10. I was up at 3 in the morning. This one's too big. So I hope that doesn't happen this time. But yeah, because I was like, okay, well, all my British people are going to be on. And like, nobody was there. They were all crumpet harvesting or something. Like there's some kind of shrooms or something. Okay, so this guy, we're gonna have him dry, let him dry out there. And while that's drying, which could take a little bit, let's look at some figures. Let's look at some 20 millimeter Americans. Of course, they're all 20 millimeter. Clear the workspace a little bit here. What's this? This is the self-propelled gun crew. And these are somewhat sorted. Oh, here's the rest of the tank crew. This is the tank crew from War Games Foundry. All right, you got some mortarmen and 30 caliber folks, but they're carrying that stuff. Yeah, so heavy support weapons. These guys are Rangers. Look pretty good. They even have the little, they should have it. I'll tell you, they did the little triangle, like a little Rangers kind of diamond, kind of like a squish diamond. I don't see them on there now, but I want to say these figures did have that sculpted onto them. Yeah, they do. Yep. Yeah, Rangers lead the way and all that. Okay, this is another officer pack, which I have one loose. This is an extra baggie. That doesn't need to go back in there. What's up, Mark? Oh, I'm doing okay. I survived until the weekend. It's kind of a rough day at certain points today. I hate Fridays. I'm worn out by the time you get to a Friday. Yeah, this is one of the... These are the two figures I have that are broken. I have a BAR that is snapped probably a third of the way down. And I've got this guy that has a Garand. They're both unfortunately not useful. Who's this all by and is lonesome? Oh, one of these officer guys. Well, he's got something on his back, like almost look like a mess set or a canteen set. Now these are platoon 20 guys, so they're not great looking. They're kind of poor. They might even have had lead rot on them. And so are these. Although some of these guys have, they got a really big hobbit heads. I'm not saying I'm not going to paint them. I'm just not going to paint them right now. Same doo-doo, different day. Oh, are you fully retired? If you are, then you don't have any you're not going to get any sympathy from me. Just like the guys that are, TGIF. You know the saying, TGIF. You know who came up with TGIF? Some asshole that worked 410s. Because I hate Fridays. I'm worn out. Okay, these guys are all Battlefield. These are all Battlefield figures. All these are out of production. They were new when I got them, but I got them, 20-something years ago. Yeah, and some of these guys have those waterproof containers. This guy's a particularly good figure. He has a good hand. We'll set him off the side. He's got a Garand. Most of these guys have a Garands. Almost all of them do. This guy actually has one of those fatigue caps. Yeah, the guys wore in MASH. This guy has a minimum of equipment. We're going to eventually paint all these guys. It's just a matter of like, who do I want to paint? Oh, this guy's got one of them knit thingies. You know, I think they're called a helmet liner. But there's like, you know, one of those knit things. I never watched MASH because the wrong war. Didn't really care for any of the actors that are in it. But the little hat that guy named, that little nerd burglar named Radar wore. Just like a knit cap. Almost like you made it out of like a big sock. That's what this guy's got. Big old sock-headed dude. Okay, and this is that same officer's in the officer pack. He's got a M1 carbine that apparently this one's broken. The carbine's broken. The little edge of them. You know, they're sitting in these bags with a lot of lead on top of them. Boy, this guy's got scrim galore. So I'd like to paint another American tonight, and then tomorrow morning another one. This guy's got like a minimum of equipment. Might be easy to paint, but I want to paint somebody that's kind of cool. Wow, this guy has hardly anything at all. That might be a good quick candidate. Who else do we have here? A couple bazookas and really weird position bazookas. What else do we have? This guy's a sergeant looking dude or something. I got a guy with a grease gun here somewhere. Ugly thing. Fully retired, thank God. I'm working on a 28 millimeter Easy 8 for one of James' customers. So, back when I was super poor, 18, 19 years old, something like that, I think I moved out or whatever, I was confronted, I was accosted, I was confronted by, I used to work at a hobby store, and I was accosted by a veteran, a Navy veteran, and he brought me the Lindbergh, I'm sure you're familiar with this, the Lindbergh Blue Devil Destroyer. And it's damn near 1/72nd scale. I think it's just shy of 1/72nd scale a little bit. But, you know, it's big. It's, 3 feet long or something like that. And he wanted me to build it for him, which is easy, and then paint him for it. And that was my first commission job I ever did for somebody, and my last commission job I did for somebody, because I didn't want to work on it. When I'm not working on something for myself, or somebody else gets to dictate the pace of the project, I lose interest. So I learned real quick not to, and I'm not saying that you should do the same thing. It may work for you. Some people enjoy commission painting. I'm never going to do it again. Never, ever going to do it again. And I'm never going to go to I got to get this done by a certain show. Not doing that. Nope. Just not going to do it. I'm having trouble deciding who I want to do next. But that's what I like. I can do any of these guys. Well, here's the guy with the grease gun. Oh, that's not him. I grabbed the wrong one. He's got a weird helmet, almost like he's got like almost like a motorcycle helmet, which that's not right. Grease gun's kind of an ugly gun. This guy's an LT or something because he's got a M1 carbine and he's got a pistol. He's got a 1911. Let's do this guy. He's already on a penny. I'm going to have to touch up the black on him. Let's do that guy next. He doesn't have a whole lot of equipment. Should be able to knock him out tonight. RC capable fire member. I don't do a lot of painting other than for James as a special request from a friend of James. But you don't live anywhere near James, right? Well, you live halfway. He's up in Washington State, right? By the way, who makes the videos? Are you the guy mysteriously appearing in the videos, or is that him? And who assembles the tanks for him? Inquiring minds and all that. I was getting kind of miffed at some of the comments when I posted some of the things that I painted. Some people were like, "Oh, obviously a 3D print." I'm not hiding that it's a 3D print, and that's fine. If you don't like the lines in some of the 3D print things, honestly, they don't bother me. I thought it was gonna bug the living shit out of me. Doesn't bug me. You know, it doesn't bother me at all. And if you don't, and I can see if you don't like the 3D print lines, but then you're not allowed to buy miniatures from Frontline. You're not allowed to buy miniatures from or tanks from Frontline or I would even say Britannia or whoever the heck they're called now, Grubbies. Who else? Raventhorpe. All these manufacturers that have been around a long time and have edges that should be sharp and they're not. They're all lumpy. So, because James's tanks are not lumpy. They may have 3D print lines in certain places. And that's unfortunate, but all his stuff is really crisp. Unlike some of these other manufacturers that are like, and people buy them, Yes, you're in Iowa. That is James himself doing all of it. Okay. You're just a painter. You're just a stupid painter like me. We're just dumb painters. I don't mind doing the videos. I just don't like editing them. So I subscribe to a couple of YouTube people that are like, every other day they have a video out. How to get more hits, how to beat the algorithm, how to make correct thumbnails. And I've watched this stuff and it's exhausting because, that's this is what I do. I'm not a video guy, and I could do the video stuff, I'm sure, but then I'm not doing this. And this is therapeutic. The other thing's frustrating. So you take suggestions from people. They always want you to do more, and they're not doing anything. Would you laugh about that? We're stupid painters. Yeah, we're just stupid painters. True story. I went to a farmer's market, a yearly craft show at this little town just north of Orlando called Mount Dora. It's a quaint little town, but they've got a big arts and festival thing there. My daughter was about 10 at the time, so this was about 10 years ago, something like that. So we go there, we park, and we're looking at the people doing. Some people are selling their wares, and some people are painting. They're painting like live, right? Except they're doing it on canvas. So I walk up to this guy, and my daughter, she was young enough to understand that I did painting, but that it was a different kind of painting on a canvas than what I do. And frankly, I think that what we do is super simple. I just do. Not everybody can do it. I don't know. If you want to bad enough, it's not that difficult. You got to learn by your mistakes. If you don't learn by your mistakes, you're going to have an uphill battle. So we walked by this guy. This guy's painting. He was sitting like in an alcove, and there was a view that he saw, and he was painting that view on canvas. And I'm like, man, that's really good. And my daughter goes, hey, Daddy, that's like what you do, but like on a canvas. And like immediately the artist was like, oh, you paint? I said, well, I do, but I paint miniatures, and he seemed intrigued, like he actually encountered somebody who was artsy, right? And I am artsy, I'm just not fartsy. Which unfortunately a lot of it goes hand in hand, but I digress. So I talked to this guy. I said, well, here's some of the stuff that I do, but I paint miniatures and stuff like that. And he was like, wow, like, man, that must be really hard. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm just accentuating colors on this work of art that somebody sculpted. You're creating shit from scratch. But then I realized that, he just doesn't know the trick. Because all of this is a trick. And I'm sure there's things to painting on a canvas that are a trick too. Now, I've done a couple of backgrounds, and I actually watched a YouTube video on how to do background, and I did it with craft paint, and I'm like, it's going to turn out like crap. It didn't. I was like, man, I got a clue. I'm like, I've never painted on a canvas, but I got lots of different brushes, and brushes are an important part of it. And it actually turned out okay. I mean, it wouldn't sell for anything because it's not modern art, and it's, you could recognize that it's a tree line or a mountain or something like that. The only art that sells for a lot of money is stuff that looks like shit and the guy's dead. The stuff looks so bad it killed the artist. I told my daughter when we were in New York, I said, I want to get drunk and go to the MoMA and make fun of shit. There's styles of stuff that I don't like, but as somebody who paints, you can kind of see how much effort went into it and be like, okay, this guy did this, he layered this, and kind of figure it out, be like, okay, well, that's cool. And there's stuff that just looks like chimpanzee poo slinging. And I'm like, I just can't stay quiet. I can't stay quiet. There's this place in St. Petersburg that we drove by a couple weeks ago. I was down there visiting my daughter. Let me see if I can find what it's called. I didn't go into the place, but let's see if okay, this is a place that I drove by that's one of those where you can go with your friends or something like that and pick up a vase and paint it and take it home, right? And the place is called Practically Picasso. Picasso with a K. Right? One of these places like this. I wouldn't be good at any of those places because I'm probably using really bad brushes and bad paint. But, if I used my stuff, it'd probably turn out okay. But I'm sitting thinking, why would I want something? Here it is, Picasso. Practical Picasso. Paint your own pottery. It's got one of a Picasso-like thing on there. And if you've listened to me for any period of time, you know how people have heroes, right? Like, I don't know that I have any heroes other than maybe this sculptor that I never got to meet, Dave Alsop. He got me into this scale of figures. If I had to say who's my hero, that's probably him. Hopefully he's not wasn't a child molester or something like that in real life. Hey, I don't know that he was a child molester, so I'm okay there. Hopefully he was an excellent human being. But he'd be my hero. But my anti-hero, in other words, somebody I detest, would be somebody like Picasso. If you've listened to me long enough, you should freaking know that. It should be a quiz. Take Tony's quiz. Who does Tony hate? Picasso. Yeah, I can't paint as bad as Picasso. Ever. And then people use the Picasso defense. They defend, well, he could paint really well. He just chose to paint that way. And I use my famous analogy. It's like saying, well, I can make it to the bathroom, but fuck it, I'm just going to shit my pants right here. I'm going to make a Picasso in my pants. Unless it's a pottery tank, I'd lose interest really quick. My wife did, who's not artistically inclined. Unless you consider cooking artistic, which could be. She's really good at that. And like, you know, inventing stuff. She did one of those, she took craft paints, watched a YouTube video, and painted something on a little canvas probably this big. And I think it turned out really well. You know, but you're always your own worst critic as an artist. So, you know, if you're not happy with it as an artist, I get it. You end up getting discouraged. But I ended up, when I did my first background, I watched a video. And the thing that I didn't know is he took the entire canvas and painted it with a color like this, like burnt sienna or raw sienna or whatever sienna it is. Raw sienna. He took the entire white canvas and painted it this. I'm like, I would have never done that. I didn't know. I'm not saying he did it wrong. I'm like, okay, that's just something I didn't know. And reason was he had his reasons for why he did it. I don't know what they are. But I'm like, okay, he's the pro. Okay, I like how the end result was. Let's follow step by step. You know, let's at least try it the way the guy who's saying to do it does it. And then after that, you know, if I don't want to follow his instructions, you know, then I can be my own man. Stick it to the man and do it however the hell you want, you know. But let's at least follow it the first time. I got all these little parts of the chair that are popping off. God, I'm not that heavy. I'm putting that kind of strain on this chair. Gotta run. The wife is ready and we're going for supper. Okay. We'll see you this weekend, maybe. Have a good dinner. Hopefully you're not going to somewhere like Golden Corral. Go somewhere good. That's the best thing about the town that I live in. There's no Golden Corral. Not that I want to go to it, but... And for people in the UK that don't know what a Golden Corral is, that's a buffet place that has worse food than you guys have in England. Alright, so this is going to be some kind of an officer. And normally we'd put his little logo on the helmet, but he's got one of those helmet nets. So we can't really do that. Texas Roadhouse, that's a good choice, man. I've always had a good meal there. New York strip for me, man. And I don't know if Rick is watching with a sweet potato. Rick's head explodes. Boom! Could say the only person I've ever encountered that doesn't like sweet potato. Okay, there's this officia, and this is just some guy. He has a nice hand. Whatever that's supposed to be. I'm just killing time while Kowalski dries. Okay, this is the guy that we decided was going to be the captain. Zook guy. Well, let's see if we can wake up a little bit. Hopefully you guys can help me out. Because this is what I want to do. I don't want to be like, okay, it's time to go to bed. Nope. Not today. Well, not anytime soon, anyways. I guess I'll have to wait till in the morning for the Britishers to be here. Now, I heard a saying today or yesterday evening that I thought was brilliant. Okay, so no, we're probably gonna have to base him in the morning. So I guess we have to work on one of these guys that's kind of dry. He's a combat miniatures guy. Let's see who this guy's gonna be. One of them are Italians, maybe. So I found out something interesting. You know, the name Ferrari basically is the equivalent of a smith. Because it's somebody that works with iron worker. And you think about it, that makes sense because ferrous, ferrous means iron. That makes sense. So this guy's in shirt sleeves. Let's do this guy. He's got some nice muscles. Some muscular Italian dude. Maybe we'll make this guy D'Angelo or somebody. What do we have here? I have a D'Angelo. All right. This the one we're going to use? No, we're working on a different one. We're using this one. This is where the water's at. Yep. All right, there's the chocolate brown. Let's get the U.S. field drab. And let's see if we can't get a picture of the undershirt that they have, and whether it's lighter colored or darker than the pants. I have a feeling it's going to be lighter. By a smidge. Yeah, it is. By a smidge. Well, we can tinker with that. Okay. So let's do his pants. It'd be nice if you had a second camera for a close-up of your painting. I used to do that, and it created so much turmoil for myself that I just can't do it. There's a lot of people who weren't really watching my up close. Even if I do it, it just doesn't capture the same as, because it's video. You know, this one allows me also to take pictures and zoom in on them, so I could do stuff like this picture that I took of Kowalski here. I think I have to figure out how to do 2 cameras for my videos, but you start adding a second camera, it really creates a lot of issues. You would think that if you've never made videos before, you just connect your phone. Your phone has a good camera. It's a better camera than most cameras. Plug it in and go to town. Oh no, you need to go through another program that basically tells the computer that, hey, this is not another phone. This is actually, we're going to use this as a camera, and it created all kinds of issues for me. So when you start adding another camera, it just adds a layer of frustration that I'm just not one of those. I'm just not savvy enough with it, and don't want to be savvy enough with it, because that just creates issues for me. When I start dealing with things that are technology, it's not that I hate technology. It's that it should be a lot easier to do than it is sometimes. And if you fight with that for about an hour, that's an hour that you don't have anything to show for. You didn't paint anything, and you created frustration for yourself. So yeah, the second camera really is that's what I used to do. I used to have one here, and then I had the other one that was up here shooting from above, and I had all kinds of problems. Ben would come in, hey, your picture's reversed and shit like that, when you use those programs, they like to change things at the last minute and not tell you. Those nerd burglars decide to change their program, and then you have to do it differently, and it just creates stress for me. But yeah, it's not like I don't want to show you this stuff. I mean, I'm nearsighted big time, like +6, so I can't paint shitty close. I'm not afraid of taking pictures really close of what I'm doing, because that's what I see. Well, I don't see it that big. That's even bigger than what I see. But, you take stuff like my, and I wish I was a better photo taker, but I'm not. Here's the patient. The patient has got a great face on him. I'm just adding the color, though, man. The sculptor did all the work. I don't know. I bet the sculptors don't paint. Like, man, how do you paint my stuff? Well, because you did a good job sculpting it, dude. My dude. You did a good job, my dude. Okay, this guy's going to be some kind of Italian. My first Italian trooper. Italian American. Or as they used to call them back in World War II, Americans. They didn't hyphenate their stuff. All right, let's get a little bit of this. Where did my water go? My water broke. I'm so much more comfortable using this than a wet palette for a couple of reasons. First of all, I don't have to worry about, and I'm pretty comfortable with my wet palette, but this is just, I can just roll with this. I don't have to worry about, it's a little taller, and then, I don't know, I'm just more comfortable using this. I painted most of my figures just using plastic lids. And usually would just throw them away. This one I actually recovered it. Oh, I never did put the US field drab down. There you go. Yeah, what I really like doing is mixing the colors. I'm really comfortable with that. I've done it so many times. It's damn near mindless. So we're just going to paint all his pants in this darkened field drab color. So the darkest shadow is going to be this color. You have a lot of minis to paint. Always come here for inspiration. Enjoy your painting streams. Thanks, man. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on here and interacting with me at some level. That's why I do it. Ultimately, I do this for me. The fact that it benefits somebody else, that's even better. But, I used to listen to talk radio, and then I'm like, I don't care about sports, and I don't want people arguing about politics, so what else you got? Music, I fall asleep. The Audible books, sometimes I get too involved and I lose track of exactly what it is. I tend to listen to things that are complicated. So what I found that keeps me on track more than anything else is doing this. You guys come on, you interact with me a little bit, and I'm like, I want to leave, but I don't want to leave you hanging, So you guys help me out tremendously. That's why I'm like, I don't want to do Patreon or this isn't a business. I'm just here, just come on and hang out with me. A lot of people do Patreons. That's fine if you want to do that. It's just not worth the hassle. It's not. As long as I don't have to pay money to do a show, then that would be bad. But all right, so now we've got that base color. We're going to add more of this field drab on top of it. And even though it's basically a monologue, I enjoy talking about stuff that I can't really share with anybody else throughout the day because they just don't get it. They're not. People aren't. I don't have a bunch of people just laying around that are interested in history or World War II or tanks or painting or all the above. Can I show a close-up after each step? I sure can. I sure can. Let me see if I can get the lighting in here. I do okay with the photos here. Just sometimes. Okay, so, no, not video. So what we did here is we have all of the pants. Let's see if I can Let's get the light in here. Not block my own light here. And we talk about it. Because I love talking about this. It's so like second nature to me. And you can paint however you want. Lots of people use like this is just how I've been doing it since the mid-90s. And I've gotten better at it because that medic that I just finished, I haven't painted an American guy in 20 years. And he looks so much better than all the other guys I have because I've gotten even more contrast. You know, with the wrinkles and stuff like that to make things stand out. But basically the theory is you take a color like this one. This is Vallejo Field Drab. Okay, that's what it looks like. Okay, so what I do is I add what I call negative to it. In this case, it's almost always is black. It's almost always black. There's exceptions to it, but most colors, it is black that I use. So I put some black down, and I add it so that you end up getting this color right here. So here's what I call the core color, which is the basic color, and add black to it, and I get this color. That's basically the darkest shade any of my shadows are ever going to be in. And I paint entire pants and all that. So the entire pair of pants is painted in this color right here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do a little bit less black in it. And then we're going to hit the highlights. And then eventually we're going to get to this color and hit the highlights. And then you start adding what I call the positive ones, which is almost always white. Sometimes it's a yellowish color depending on what you're doing, to just kind of bring it. And that's basically how I paint. You know, which is funny because my daughter does watercolors and she paints the opposite. She paints everything in the color the lightest it's ever going to be, and does it the other way. So mine's forgiving, so I screw it up and I can fix it. Or if it turns out not to my liking, I can come back and fix it. So I call it the number line system. So this is, you know, your number line when you got like -3, -2, -1, 0, +1, +2. So if you think of it as like brightness, this is your 0, whatever the core. And that's why I have this many colors. I don't need this many colors, but this is just like, I find my 0. Like, I want to use this color as my 0. I want to use that color as my 0. And I basically am going to add black as the negative colors and then just work my way up to the main core color. And sometimes I add another color and they both split off together. In other words, not a black or a white, but it's unusual. Flesh, I do it that way. But it's really easy to explain. It's super easy to do. I've been painting that way a long time and it works for me. I don't do washes on figures. I don't do dipping. I want this because it's super controlled. Like I want the shadow where I want the shadow. And I paint in it, and you gotta paint a little. I paint a little impressionistic. Certainly on clothing, not necessarily faces. You know, but if you look really close here, really close here, you can see. This is, I can't really, see if I can turn this off. Okay, so I can see this a little bit better. I have no glasses on. So if you have like this color here, you can see this is the color that the jacket was. This is the darkest shade. I gotta put my glasses on so I can see what I'm pointing at. This wasn't a problem 6 years ago where I would just paint in 20/20 vision. Okay. This color that's here is the darkest part of the jacket ever is, right here, in the armpit. And then you end up working your way up to the core color, and then, you know, there's light stuff on here. You could tell here's some of the color, it's been lightened up some, you know. And the hands are a little bit different, rifles the same way, helmets the same way. It's pretty easy. It's hard to, that's the easiest way to explain it. I call it the number line system. I call it the number line system and sometimes can't say it apparently. Lumber line. No. We're not waiting for 2x4s. You can use this with a wet palette as well. I'm just lazy. And I paint one figure at a time, so the wet palette isn't as useful. All right, so that's about where we left off. So now we're going to add more of this core color. So you ever hear me talking about core color? That's what I'm talking about. This is whatever came out directly out of the bottle. Whoa, too wet. Okay. And that's where experience comes in. You start realizing, this isn't going to turn out what I'm going to be happy with. So change tack. And every color you put on after the base one is less and less on the figure. So the darkest one's all over the entire pants. This one is almost everywhere on the pants. And I paint really thin, so I'm not covering up over any detail. You don't have to paint thick. And again, that's another thing. You got to have to figure out, well, how do you know how much to thin the paint with water or whatever? You just know. After doing it enough times, you'll figure it out. Sink or swim. You have either figured it out or you've given up painting. And it's the same way I did my 15 dBA millimeter. No, dBA 15 millimeter armies. Same way. Okay, now I'm going to take this color straight completely, and we're going to highlight more. And I'll show you what this looks like at the very end. And always the magic happens when you end up sealing it. When you end up sealing it, something happens that makes it look even better. But we're just playing with little folds, making them stand out. Now we're going to take, did I pull any white out? I did not. So basically each layer of a different shade of the core color is, let's see what he says. Change the chat. Let's go to live chat. There we go. Is less area of a model. Sure. Yeah, because you're hitting, if you're gonna paint, if my arm was a pair of pants, the whole thing would be this, and then you would leave the darker color here. You just kind of, that's what you do, It's so freaking mindless. I've done it tens of thousands of times now. I'm a terrible multitasker, and I can do this basically without even thinking. Some people do the same thing with like the triads. They'll get like, okay, well, for pants, I'm going to use this color is the bottom one, this one for the middle one, and like this one for the highlighting. Okay, but there's colors in here that aren't present in here. There's, like this might have more yellow in it, this might have more red in it. And they don't, I prefer to get ones that everything I'm adding is part of this. So it just seems more natural to me. And I also started doing it that way when I didn't have triads, so. Like I said, I don't really care how people paint. It's like, oh, you're not painting the Tony what you're doing. I'm a big believer in you do things however the hell you want to, and I don't care, if you're interested, I just tell you how I'm doing it. If you want to do it in a different way. You don't want to base your figures on stands? Go right ahead. Don't put them on stands. Yeah. I'm not on a crusade to convert anybody. And I don't want you Jehovah's Witnessing at my front door either. Now flesh I do differently. Because flesh, to look right, and I got flushed down. I mean, when I first started painting figures in the mid '90s. I was like, I don't want to paint faces, and now I'm like, give me all the faces you got. Even other races, like I shouldn't say that. Even other ethnicities. I don't like saying races. Races. What races are like? Human, elf, orc. Yeah, that's races. I mean, just different skin tones. Those are those are fun to do. They're real easy to do. But that one for the Caucasian, which is almost every person you're doing, even the Japanese, they're light enough skin. They're very similar. I'll use black in this. This is red leather. So you get a color that's kind of a dark brown. And then you end up getting to this color. And you don't add white to this, or you'll end up with, somebody that looks not like a real person. I start adding a sunny skin shade, sunny skin tone to it. And eventually I get to a point where I end up adding white to this to hit the final highlights. But I don't think we go to this completely. We end up doing this, you get to a point almost to where you're at this color or just before you start adding this. It works for me, and it's very repeatable. So, and it's super easy. I mean, I think it's super easy. It's super easy for me. I've done it enough times. But I do this the same way. These people go. Maybe you'll go somewhere, like you go to a bar or somewhere, or you go to a piano bar. Like I've been on cruises. They'll have like dueling pianos on a cruise ship, right? And somebody will come out of the audience that it's just two pianos doing songs, and they're going back and forth playing the song together, different parts of it. They'll grab some guy out of the audience that can play drums. He goes on stage and starts playing with them, and it's like he fucking knows. It's the same thing. It's just there's some things that we're born with an affinity, and then we've practiced on the skills. Look, I'm sorry, I'm already breaking my rules. It's not a rule, it was a suggestion. Let me show you how I finished at this one. And I could make a video of doing this, but you open yourself up to people criticizing what you do, and I really don't want to listen to it. I really don't want to be discouraged or snap back at somebody. And here you can see the difference between the two colors. You can see the color in the back and then the one I've highlighted on top of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this base color with a little bit of white in it. And we're just going to hit the top folds, the places where it's going to catch light. I don't paint dirty knees and stuff like that. My vehicles are weathered, but my figures' clothes really aren't. That's a detail too far. So I do want these guys to look realistic, but I want them to have a certain, not comic book, but graphic novel look to them. And that's just what I want them to look at. Some people may want them to look very realistic. Now see how less time that took than the previous color? Each one you do takes less and less paint and less time to do. You need to get this light behaving in the correct direction so you can see when I'm photographing. Otherwise, it's not going to be very handy. Did it zoom back out? No, that's his leg. Okay, and then I'm probably going to go just a little smidge over this, lighter than this. And unlike painting on a two-dimensional surface, this tells you what sticks out higher than any of the other ones because the guy sculpted it. And if I held this up to the camera, you wouldn't be able to see it. It needs to be like a still picture, a still image. Yeah, it's super easy. I mean, you gotta get some brushes that you have a lot of confidence in. Notice I didn't say expensive brushes. I did not say expensive brushes. Brushes that I have confidence in. I prefer liners. I think liners work a lot better. You know, these are round. You know, I don't go. You just got to look at the tips on them. All right, so we're done with the pants. Now we're going to do with the shirt sleeves, and I'm going to warn you. This is a guy whose shirt sleeve color is very similar to the pant color, and I'm going to show you a little trick. And this is one that I just figured out on my own. So I'm going to use the same color that I did for the pants. Exact same color. We're going to go to exactly to the same negative spot that we did with the pants. Okay? So I'm going to take this color right here. A little bit of water to keep everything flowing right. Right? We don't want to dilute the pigments too much. And we're going to paint everything on the shirt other than the straps. There's no point in painting the straps. And the collar. Because this guy does not have an M1941 jacket or whatever it's called. The members only jacket. That's what it looks like. Had I known this is what I was going to do, I would have just painted his shirt at the same time that his pants. But I like to wing things a little bit. I don't want to plan every single thing out. I do a lot of planning Monday through Friday, and it goes haywire. I don't need more to volunteer for more things that are going to be apt to change. So normally at this point, I would start adding some of this core color on there, and I am going to do that. But I'm only going to do it one time. We're never going to get to this color. We're never going to get to the core color. We're going to stop just short of it or just darker than it. But this is still the same field drab with black in it that we're layering. I always called it blending, but I'm not blending on the figure. We're blending here. You actually don't. I don't want it to blend on the figure because then the transitions between colors can sometimes be a little too smooth, and sometimes if they're a little bit harsh, it shows the folds a lot better. Again, it just depends on the application, how you want to implement it, and what works for you. That's hard to describe. You just kind of have to feel it. Okay, so now he's got field drab pants, and he also has field drab with black shirt. So what we're going to do is we're never going to go to this core color. Okay, so right now we're like here with this black in it. Let's get a little bit of moisture here. We're about right there instead of right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend this is the core color, and we're going to add white to this, maybe a little bit more. So it's still the same color, darkened in black. We're going to come in, let's use the one you have a little bit more control with. And we're going to paint the folds on here with that color. It still has the same origin story. It's just different. But I want it to look good up close. I have to. I'm painting it. I'm nearsighted. So unless I plan on painting something that looks like crap, it will look good up close. And then it just depends on you got to have enough contrast between the colors on the figure so you can see him at 2 and 3 feet away. You can make out it's a human. Now I'm actually going to take this color, which is here, and a little bit more white to it. Well, I thought I was going to make it up a while tonight. I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm about ready to crash. But we'll be back on in the morning. Too watery there. Okay, I'm actually going to stop for the night. I'm pretty beat. I've been up for a while. But thanks for stopping by, folks, all you guys that did. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning.